Straight all day.
Now tuned in to the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day, to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you've expected to achieve is yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, we're not done. You get a huge dose of personal initiative. That is the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then we put all this together into a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, and techniques, all underneath the umbrella of one unifying philosophy that is called work on your game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic, folks, your ideas are not you. Did you hear me clearly? Your ideas are not you. I'm going to get into what that means, of course, and what to do with this information momentarily. But first, as I always do, let me remind everybody, some of you already know this, but there are some people who don't, so bear with me, that I have a daily motivation text message that I send out every single day. Yes, I send out every day. And yes, it is free. And yes, you can get it. Here's all you got to do. Send me a text at this number, 305-384-6894. Let me say it again, 305-384-6894. Send a text to that number right now, not now, but right now. And every day when I send out the daily motivation, depending on what time you're listening to this, you might receive today's. And if it's after I already sent out today's, then you can still be texting with me. I'll tell you about that in a moment. But you'll get tomorrow's and every day subsequently after that, as long as you keep paying your phone bill. Now, here's the other thing about the daily motivation text, is that when you text there, you can actually respond to any one of those texts. And as a matter of fact, when you first text me to get the daily motivation text, I'm going to text you back and you will be texting directly with me. So that is not, every day I get a text from somebody that says, hey, they think they're talking to my team or my assistant or a bot. That is actually me who responds to those texts. So every day I take time, I take like 20 minutes every day, and I go through all the texts that I have received and I respond to text messages every day. So text me at that number, and every day you'll be texting with me. That number is down below in the description as well, or the show notes, wherever you're consuming this, just in case you missed the number already. So let's talk about this topic here today. Your ideas are not you. Now, in my Bulletproof Mastermind, there was a conversation that happened earlier this year where someone was sharing some idea they had for something they were doing in their business. And in the long story short, I needed to take way too much time explaining to this individual that the idea that they were sharing was simply not a good idea. And I am qualified to do this for a few reasons. Number one, I've been in this game for a while. What this person was working on is something that I've done before. Number two, this person's in my mastermind, so they are coming there specifically to get strategic advice from me. And the thing that they were doing strategically was not working. It wasn't strategic at all. It's one of the reasons why it wasn't working. And as I went through explaining to this person that this idea was not a good idea, this wasn't the first time I had to do this in my mastermind. Maybe not necessarily with this person, but it wasn't the first time I had to do it. But one of the reasons why this explanation and me getting my point across to this person took more time than it should have taken was based around the concept that I'm going to share here today, that everybody needs to understand, whether you join my mastermind or not, is that many people, especially these days, because the world has become more and more like this over time, because we are all so focused on ourselves. We're in the selfie generation, literally the selfie generation, is that a lot of people, and some of you who are listening to my voice right now, you take too much personal ownership of your ideas, and then you tie your personal worth to how much or how well or if those ideas are being received. And that is a strategic mistake that will cost you a lot of time, it will cost you a lot of effort, a lot of energy, and there's a huge opportunity cost to it. Meaning, every minute you spend focusing on that is a minute you're not spending focusing on something that will actually get you a result. Opportunity cost just being whatever you're not doing anytime you are doing something. So right now, the opportunity cost of me recording this show is that I'm not outside playing, I'm not in the swimming pool swimming, I'm not in the kitchen eating, I'm not in bed sleeping. The opportunity cost of doing this is everything else that I could be doing. So the opportunity cost of you taking every idea that you put out there personally and then being upset if and when your idea is not well received by whoever, that every minute you spend feeling sorry for yourself is a minute you're not spending focusing on, okay, how can I make this idea better or come up with a different or better idea that will actually work. And if you're on my mastermind, I will help you with this. I'm going to get direct with you. I'm going to tell you exactly what the issue is and why it's the issue so that you understand it. And I will help you come up with a better idea and a better approach if you were able to absorb what I'm going to share here today. And I'm going to give this to you up front before you even get into my mastermind. So what happens with a lot of people these days, especially since we're in this selfie generation, is people connect everything to themselves. All right, so you put out let's say I put out a course, or I put out a book, or I put out some offering or service or product, and the world just does not respond to it. It just doesn't sell very well. People just don't seem to be interested. It just flops. All right, I put out more products and ideas and offers that flop than many of you have put out, period, whether things that work or didn't work. The thing is, I have the ability, and you should have this ability as well, that's what we're talking about here today, to look at that situation objectively. I don't look at, if I put out a book and nobody's interested in that book, I don't take it as people are not interested in Dre Baldwin. I take it as, okay, that book didn't work. Why did this book not work? Is it the content that didn't work? Is it the title? Did I not get the cover design the right way? Did I not talk about it the right way? Did I not position it properly? Did I not market it to the right audience? There's something that I did with this that made it not work. It's not that people aren't interested in me. It's just whatever I put out there just didn't work. And this is the way that you need to be able to look at things. You need to be able to look at your stuff as objects. Your ideas are objects. Your products, your services, your offerings, anything that you put out there is simply an object, and sometimes the public responds to it, sometimes the public doesn't, but it is not a referendum on you as a person. And if you're taking it as a referendum on you as a person, the challenge with this is because we are so emotionally connected to ourselves as humans, again, this being the selfie generation, more connected than we've ever been, that we take everything personal as if it's some personal, again, referendum on who you are as an individual. That's not the case. So let's get into my points so I don't step on anything I'm going to share here today. Point number one, the topic once again is your ideas are not you. Number one, your ideas are inanimate objects. That's what they are. They don't have a heartbeat. There is no blood coursing through their veins. They are not living, breathing organisms. They are merely ideas. Your ideas are merely thoughts floating by on the ether, like rocks are inanimate objects. A pair of shoes is an inanimate object. Somebody not being interested in your idea does not mean they are not interested in you, the human being. I can accept if a 7-year-old child cannot understand this concept. I will not accept a 30-year-old man or woman not understanding this concept. I have very little patience for this. I've had more ideas that didn't work, like I said, than probably anybody who listens to this show. Most of you. And that's fine. You know, I'm fine with having ideas that don't work. I've had a whole bunch of ideas that don't work, and I will have more ideas that will not work. The good thing is I'm an idea machine. I'll come up with another idea. All right, that idea didn't work. Let me figure out why that idea didn't work, and then let me come up with something better moving forward. Every episode of this show is a new idea. So I've had over 2,000 new ideas that I put out here, and I'm giving you this to you at no charge whatsoever. I'm still running the business. So some ideas do great. Some episodes of this show really connect with the audience, and they really like what I talked about that episode. But some episodes, they don't. Some episodes, they don't really resonate. Maybe I might think they're going to be amazing, but then when it gets out there, the audience doesn't really respond to those ones as well as I thought they would. This is the game that we're in, folks. This is not personally about you. And this is one of the biggest challenges that a lot of entrepreneurs have, is that they think everything is about them, when in actuality, hardly any of this is about you. It is about you, but it's not. So especially if you're in a space like I'm in, if you're in the thought leadership space, the personal branding space, where you are literally the face of your business, everything is not necessarily about who you are as a person. Now, who you are as a person is what gets people interested and what gets them to buy in. But if you put something out that just doesn't connect the way that you wanted it to connect, doesn't mean people just decided they don't like you anymore. It's just that that thing didn't hit them where they were at. You didn't hit the right people, or at the right time, or with the right thing, or you didn't position it in the right way. And that's the reason why it didn't work. Maybe there's nothing wrong with the thing. Maybe it's just the way you talked about it that was the issue. But this, again, we can figure out, it could be 10 different things that cause that thing to not work. We fix one of those 10 things. We just turn that dial a little bit, and now all of a sudden it hits and it works. The thing is, you got to be emotionally detached enough and objective enough to look at your items, your inanimate objects, in this way and not take it as a personal thing. Because when you don't take it personal, it's much easier to drop something that doesn't work and pick up something that might work and move on to the next thing quickly. But when you're taking everything personally, it takes a lot longer to move on. It takes a lot longer to get to the next thing. And the challenge is we are on the clock. As human beings, we're on the clock in business. And the longer you take to move from one thing to the next, especially a thing that doesn't work, to the next thing, which might work, then you're missing opportunity. Somebody's taking all the money off the table that should have went in your pocket, but it's going to go in their pocket, not because they're smarter than you, better than you, is because they moved faster than you. And because you were being held up, being caught up in your feelings. Understand that business is personal, but at the same time, it's never personal. At the exact same time, it's both at the same time. I talked about this in a recent episode of the show. Let me tell you what episode that was. That was episode number 2114. Business, always personal and never personal. So you have to have this ability to vacillate between, okay, this person is not buying into me because of some personal thing they have with what I'm doing, or this thing didn't work, but it's not personal at all. You have to be able to balance between these two things. It takes a lot of emotional intelligence. It takes a lot of emotional control. And unfortunately, there are some people who are 30, 40, 50 years old who have the emotional intelligence of a 6-year-old, and they're taking everything as a personal attack on them when it has nothing to do with you. We're talking about the business here. What I tell you the 3 things are that we focus on here. When you go to a higher level with me, the 3 things we're going to focus on, I'll tell you right now: strategy, accountability, and execution. None of those have anything to do with how I feel about you personally, or even how you feel about me personally. We're in a results-based business. All right, this is not a feelings-based business. This is not an affinity-based business. This is a results-based business. So if you're looking for results, then we got to focus on the things that drive results, which are strategy, accountability, and execution, not how you feel about things. And if you feel everybody in the world should want to buy your book, but nobody wants to buy it, that's not going to help you make money. It's not going to pay your bills. It's not going to put any gifts under the Christmas tree. So let's start focusing on the things that actually produce results, not the feelings that all they do is take up more time when we're talking specifically about business. Point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is your ideas are not you. Number 2, learn to separate your results from your personal worth. This is a tough pill to swallow, especially if you're in a position right now, what some of you are, where you are not getting the results that you want. You're putting in the time, you're putting in the effort, you feel like you are working on your game and following the stuff that you hear on this show every single day, but you're not getting the results that you want, and you're starting to feel like maybe something is wrong with you as an individual. I completely understand that your emotions want you to feel that way, because your emotions don't care about objectivity. Your emotions only care about how you personally feel. That's why I told you this is about emotional control. I talked about controlling your emotions. A lot of episodes of this show, most specifically episode 1781, how to emotionally detach while still producing results. Episode number 560, you are in the emotional management business. Episode 447, how to keep your emotions in check when the stakes are high. Episode 259, personal power is aligning emotion with knowledge. Episode 2155, your emotions are great gas pedals, but they are terrible steering wheels. And episode 2123, how to control your emotions. And every episode that I've ever put out of the show, you can find at workonyourgamepodcast.com. So if you don't see it in the app that you're listening, go to workonyourgamepodcast.com. That's where everything is. You got to be able to separate your results from your personal worth. Results are a loud and clear message coming from the universe and the marketplace about the value and the execution of your ideas. They are not about the value of you, the human being. Let me say that sentence one more time. The results that you get or don't get are a loud and clear message from the universe and from the marketplace about the value and the execution of your ideas. Your results are not a clear message about the value of you as a human being. Problems occur when you get this equation wrong. You are using an inaccurate formula, and you take your results and you think your results are a reflection on who you are. So when everything is popping off and you're winning and you're successful, and you start thinking that you're the shit, you're the greatest thing in history, then that same energy of taking everything that your results say and thinking that's what it says about you, that same energy will smack you upside the head when your results stop showing up, when things stop working. Now you think you're terrible and you're a piece of shit. You go from being the shit to a piece of shit simply because you are looking at your results and thinking that that's a reflection of who you are as a person. This is an inaccurate formula, folks. There needs to be a clear line of delineation between what your results say about your efforts and your executions and your objective work, your business, and that there's a line there between what you say about yourself and your personal worth. Kanye West has a line in his, I believe what song was it? It's called Pure Souls on his latest album, where he says, personal worth is not what a person is worth. And you need to burn that into your brain. What is happening in your business is not a reflection on who you are as an individual. Maybe a reflection on your execution. Might be a reflection on the quality of your ideas and the quality of your strategies and the quality of your products. That is not a reflection on the quality of you as a human being. Does everybody understand the difference here? And you can run into big problems when you operate by an inaccurate formula and you start taking things personally. It's a problem because, as I said already, it takes a long time, and for some people it takes forever for you to get over it when you're feeling pain over the fact that your stuff's not working. And it takes a long time for you to get to the next idea and the next one and the next one to find the one that works. When, on the other hand, when I dispose of an idea that doesn't work and I move on to the next one and the next one, if I move on 10 times faster than you, you might be 5 times smarter than me, but I'm going to get there twice as fast as you because you're 5 times smarter, but I'm moving 10 times faster. So I'm making up the difference because you're taking everything personally. I'm taking nothing personally. I'm looking at everything objectively and getting to the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. So you can be twice as smart as me, but I'm going to create twice as much success, twice as fast as you, simply because I'm not taking anything personally. You're still crying about the last idea. I'm already on idea number 10, and idea number 10 is the one that worked. Now, you multiply this by hundreds of ideas that we all come up with over the course of a lifetime, especially you entrepreneurs out there, and you can see how much of a problem this can become, or how much of a benefit this can be, depending on how you are calibrated emotionally. Point number 3. Today's topic, once again, is you are not your ideas. Understand that life is a game. Just like baseball or basketball, it's a game. The winners of the game are the people who put themselves in line, check this out, for losing most often. Let me say that one again, just in case I broke your brain. Life is a game, just like any sport, baseball, basketball, poker, whatever. The winners are the people who, if you look at it, these are the people who have put themselves in position to where they could lose more often than everybody else. That's why they win, because they position themselves to lose. Babe Ruth, when he stopped playing baseball, had more strikeouts than anybody else in the history of baseball, even though Babe Ruth was, at that time, looked at as the best player of all time. He had the most home runs. He also had the most strikeouts. So the most successes, but also the most failures. Kobe Bryant missed more shots. He has attempted and missed more field goal attempts than anyone in the history of basketball, at least at the time of his retirement. I think he still has the lead. He's missed more shots than anybody, but he made a lot of shots too. And that's why Kobe Bryant is Kobe Bryant. Donald Trump, as a businessman, declared bankruptcy between 4 and 6 times in business, depending on who you ask. 4 and 6 times declared bankruptcy. What is bankruptcy in business? It is essentially you saying that this business has failed to the point that I'm just going to throw in the towel and please give me a clean slate so I can start over from zero. Donald Trump did that 4 to 6 times in business, but at the same time, before he got into politics, he was widely regarded, in terms of pop culture, widely regarded as a very successful businessman, even though he had failed more times than probably everybody else. Because he lined himself up to fail, and that's also how he lined himself up to succeed. Michael Jordan had a famous commercial where back in the 90s where he said, 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed the game-winning shot. But Michael Jordan is Michael Jordan. All right, his shoes still sell $1 billion a year of sneakers every single year. He hasn't played basketball in 25 years. Why is that? Because these people aligned them, they put themselves in position to where they could lose, but it's also how they position themselves to win. Now imagine if any of these individuals who I just mentioned had taken it as a personal referendum on themselves. If Kobe took it as a personal referendum every time he missed a shot, that damn, there must be something wrong with me personally. But he had the most missed shots ever? Hell no. He probably wouldn't even lasted in the league for more than a year or two. Will Michael Jordan be Michael Jordan if he took it personal and took it as a personal affront or a personal attack on his ability as a basketball player every time he missed the game-winning shot? Of course not. Donald Trump, Babe Ruth, you. Would anybody do that? Would anybody create the success that they've created if every time something didn't work, they took it as it must be something wrong with me personally? Will we even know these individuals' names? Will we even know your name? Would you be in line to get your name known if you looked at things like this? Some of you are looking at things like this, and this is why we're not in line to get to know your name, because you're making this mistake, because you're operating by an inaccurate formula. But hopefully what you're hearing here today will help change your mindset around this. That's the whole point of me talking about these things. Let's recap today's class, which is your ideas are not you. Again, when I work with people, sometimes they take an attack on, or a critique of, or a criticism of, even a complete teardown of one of their ideas as a personal attack, as if that means, or someone is saying that something is wrong with them. No, there's nothing wrong with you. It's just something wrong with your idea. Nothing wrong with you personally. It's just your business sucks. There's nothing wrong with you as an individual. It's just that this business idea is a piece of shit, and you need to throw this away, and you need to start over from zero, because this is not going to work. You need to be emotionally controlled enough and able to take criticism enough and able to be objective enough about yourself to where you can take a critique like that, understand where it's coming from, the point of it, and then go back to the drawing board and get back to work so that you can create results. Because we're in a results-based business, we're not in a feelings-based business. Number one, your ideas are inanimate objects. It's like a pair of shoes, it's like a rock that you see on the ground when you're walking down the street. Somebody passing on you your idea is not them passing on you as a human being. They probably don't even care about you as a human being. Everybody's focused on themselves. Then listen, a 7-year-old not understanding this and crying every time something doesn't work, I get it, but I do not understand somebody 37 crying every time something doesn't work. If your ideas don't work, come up with another one. And the faster you can move on to the next one, the faster we can get to results and success. Number two, separate your results from your personal worth. Results are a loud and clear message from the universe and the marketplace about the value and execution of your ideas. They are not about the value of you as a human being. The problem happens when you operate by inaccurate formulas and you get this equation incorrect. And there are a lot of adults getting this equation incorrect. They're slowing themselves down and hurting their own success by making this miscalculation. Number three, life is a game. Just like baseball or basketball are games, the winners in life are the ones who put themselves in line for losing the most often. Babe Ruth, Kobe Bryant, Donald Trump, Michael Jordan, all famously had more failures than a lot of their peers, even though they're better than a whole lot of their peers. Why? Because they put themselves in line to lose. That's the only way you can put yourself in line to win. This is the way that life works. It balances itself out in this way. If any of these people took everything as a personal referendum and took it as a personal attack on them, you wouldn't know their names, and I wouldn't be using them as examples here in this episode. Now, if you want yourself to be used as an example, you need to start following this formula that I'm sharing with you here today. With all this said, two things for you to do next. First of all, text me so you can get my daily motivation text every single day, free of charge. My number is 305-384-6894. And secondly, join me in my Bulletproof Mastermind. It's where we can work on your strategy, your accountability, your execution. I do a live training every single week. You bring all your questions, you bring all your challenges. We have a members-only community. So in between any calls, you can share whatever you're working with, whether it's a new website, a new product, a new podcast, whatever. Post it in the community, get feedback from me, get feedback from the other members, and we get your game where it needs to be. That is at workonyourgameuniversity.com. Work on your game. Dre all day.